Even the medical staff here doesn't know what caused her collapse.
That thing's enormous! What the hell is my idiot father planning to do with that thing?
Probably against both of your wills. But it's KOS-MOS's fate to be destroyed by Telos in this place.
It has begun. Once again, in the same place. It has begun.
Chapter 50, 15 years ago. After the flash of light, we see a dream Xion has of the time when Kevin gave her his mom's pendant. And then...
Xion, are you feeling joy?
Joy? Yes. I'm happy. Very happy.
Happy?
I feel fulfilled.
By this memory?
Yes, it's a wonderful memory. The days I spent with him. Feelings of warmth. I want to stay like this forever.
Forever.
Even if I were to be born again.
Eternally.
Over and over.
Over and over.
Over and over. But...
Xion wakes up in a forest. As she walks around to get her bearings, she's ambushed by Junior, who didn't realize this was Xion from inside the bushes. Why would you greet anyone like this anyways? Momo and Chaos then show up to stop him, and they are immediately joined by Ziggy and Jin, who were also hiding. Unfortunately, nobody can find KOS-MOS. Junior tells Xion that the bright light they saw seems to have warped them somewhere, but they have no idea where. While walking around the forest, from a distance they see Labyrinthos, which can only mean they're on Miltia. And given the non-destroyed state it's in, they must be in Miltia before the Miltian conflict. Is Xenosaga introducing time travel? Is this another Encephalon dive? We'll find out soon enough. Chaos seems to know something, but again says nothing. Later on, they hear gunshots and follow the sound only to find a young Louis Virgil cornered by U-TIC Realians. So this is during the third descent operation, meaning the Miltian conflict is not too far off. Without even realizing who this injured man was, Xion and the rest help him by fighting and defeating the combat Realian. After the fight, Xion immediately recognizes him as Lieutenant Louis Virgil. Virgil is shocked that she knows his name, and being paranoid, which is fair considering he's in an enemy planet, he points a gun at Xion when she tries to help him, but he quickly succumbs to his wounds and passes out. Originally, Fabronia eventually found him and rescued him, but now it's Xion and the rest who save him. They look for a location to take Virgil when Xion notices Fabronia nearby. Because of this, and knowing they're on Miltia, Xion now has a clue where they're at, and she remembers that the church nearby where she used to spend time with Fabronia, and so the group decide to follow Xion to the church. Once they get to the church, everyone immediately recognizes it as the church they saw in KOS-MOS' subconscious. They head inside, and there they meet a familiar face. It's Xion, Little Xion. Little Xion goes to get Fabronia, and from the back of the church, both Feb and young Kevin come out. Obviously, they're not going to start explaining all of this time travel crap to them, so instead, Xion just informs them of Virgil and his condition and asks them for help. Fabronia immediately decides to help him, but, well, it goes the same way as last time. Kevin disapproves, but she and Xion eventually convince him. A lot of this is obviously going to be the same information I covered between part 4 and 7, of this video series, so I won't go into detail. However, I can finally show the cutscenes in full without weird zoomed in angles, because I was trying to avoid showing older Xion and the rest of the gang in the older videos. Anyways, this is when Junior and the rest learned that Fibronia was created by U-TIC. In this scenario, Jin decides to help them with the operation of Fibronia's organs to Virgil, since he has a medical degree. After the operation, little Xion mentions a green ship she saw coming down by a cave. Assuming this is the Elsa, Xion, Chaos, and the rest decide to go in this cave to look for the Elsa. Xion and the rest make it to the cave that little Xion mentioned, and there they meet an old man who... Honestly, this whole side story with the old man is completely irrelevant to the main story, and I'm just gonna go over it really quickly. The main thing we get out of this whole story is that not everyone in the immigrant fleet was so crazy about U-TIC as they exploited their civilians. The old man has a granddaughter, Mai, who went to investigate the ship. The gang goes in and through the cave and encounter Mai, who is convinced that they're U-TIC, so she fights them with her mech, Loophole, and is defeated. Then, after getting scolded by Xion for being annoying...
We're not pitying you!
Whoa, Xion!
Our friends are on that ship, and if you keep getting in our way, we're not gonna hold back. That ship is as important to us as this place is to you. You, of all people, should understand our feelings.
She is finally convinced that they're not U-TIC, so she gets out of their way and we never have to hear from them again. Okay, let's continue. Finally, they find the Elsa and meet with everyone. Apparently, not only did they manage to find the ES crafts, but they also found KOS-MOS, more or less. Alan takes Xion to KOS-MOS, who is in her pod. According to Alan,
her core was damaged during the fight with Telos. We can repair damage to her frame or her control program. But there's nothing we can do about the black box once it's broken.
Well, I don't know what a black box is, but it sounds important. Xion refuses to believe this and says that Alan and the professor and herself are here, so they should be able to repair her. But the only person who knew enough about her core to repair it was Kevin, and he was the original designer.
KOS-MOS will never move again.
KOS-MOS? No! Open your eyes, KOS-MOS! KOS-MOS!
Over in the Durandal, Shelly and Mary have looked everywhere for any signs of the Elsa or the ES, but have come up with no results. They then get a call from Julie, who informs them that the Federation has decided to commence a full-scale invasion of Ormus' home planet, Mictum, using the newly completed Merkaba, which they constructed using data about Proto-Merkaba. Just as Proto-Merkaba housed Proto-Omega, Merkaba houses Omega Res Novae. This means that Dmitry Yuriev is behind the decision to invade Mictum. Unfortunately, it seems that depending on the situation, the Federation military could become their enemy. Julie is unaware of what Dmitry wants in Mictum, as he wouldn't mobilize such a large fleet just to suppress Ormus, but she believes that it has something to do with an object mentioned in the Y data that was taken from Earth to Mictum back when it was called Abraxas. This object is Zarathustra, the Eternal Circle. Back with Xion, we see her having a dream, which is more of a memory of when they performed Virgil's surgery, except this was back in the original timeline, not this new timeline which she inserted herself into. As she walks through the Elsa, Xion and the rest find out from Professor that the Vessel of Anima in the ES are missing. It's never really fully explained why this happened though, but I'll get into it later. The Professor also tells them that because they're not supposed to be in this world, the paradox may be building up latent heat energy, which will eventually end in the destruction of this region of space. This never ever goes anywhere and doesn't get brought up again, and it's probably just him having a theory because he believes that they're actually in the past, so feel free to just forget about it. Later on, Xion stands over KOS-MOS.
Will you ever wake up again? Will you ever say good morning to me again?
Alan enters the room and tries to comfort Xion. Then they begin talking about the idea that they're somehow back on Milchef from 15 years ago. According to Alan, Jin said that if they're really in the past, they should make sure not to interfere with anything as to avoid changing their own futures. After getting frustrated from thinking about everything that has happened, Xion decides to relax by going out to the U-TIC city being raided by Federation troops in a world that they're not supposed to interfere with because it's in their past. Yeah, sounds relaxing. As she leaves, Alan decides to go with her, as he always does, to keep her safe. While walking outside, Alan and Xion notice U-TIC soldiers arriving in a transport. With them is Xion's father, Su Uzuki. Or Suo Uzuki. Different people say it differently. The U-TIC soldiers inspect a murder scene where apparently some Federation soldiers killed some U-TIC scientists. After they leave, Xion decides to take the dead agent's ID and modify it to make it their own ID. This way, they can gain access to Labyrinthos. Conveniently enough, there's also spare uniforms inside the vehicle, and conveniently enough to fit them. Xion tells Alan that there's something she wants to check in Labyrinthos. She wants to see exactly what her father's connection to U-TIC was. Xion tells him that he can go back to the Elsa if he wants, but of course, he doesn't, because he wants to protect Xion. So he puts on the U-TIC uniform and goes with her. They enter the acute neurosis treatment facility, the place that Xion, in her young age, thought was a hospital, and try to enter Labyrinthos, but their IDs don't have the clearance for it. So they continue playing their part as U-TIC scientists and head over to meet Joke and Mizrahi. While interacting with Mizrahi, Xion learns that the test subjects in the acute neurosis treatment facility are people who can link with the Vessels of Anima. Remember that only people who can resonate with the Vessels of Anima can pilot ESs. Xion also learns about the use of the Vessels of Anima to connect people with the Zohar, as the Vessels of Anima translate the Zohar's energy into the power for the ESs. This is all stuff I've gone over before, but again, this is when Xion and Alan are learning about it. Within a list of test subjects, Xion sees her mother. Then Mizrahi tells him to fetch his assistant, Kevin Winnicott, which they're surprised to hear work here. They're even more surprised when they learn that Kevin is the same bratty boy they met in the church. Come on though, he looks just like his older self. Anyways, after finding and telling Kevin that Mizrahi wants him to report on Feb's condition, Kevin walks out of the room, leaving Xion and Alan in his office. While in Kevin's office, Alan notices an outline for KOS-MOS' basic theory and design. Xion immediately gets to work copying this data as they can use it to repair KOS-MOS. Meanwhile, Alan distracts Kevin as he returns in order I now want to know where I was at. Meanwhile, Alan distracts Kevin as he returns in order to buy Xion time. After making the copy of KOS-MOS' data, Xion and Alan head over to a test subject's room to meet up with Su Uzuki. On the way there, they find out that there's an underground area where the Vessels of Anima are being kept. Then, once they arrive at the test subject's room, they realize who the test subject is. The test subject her father is working on. It's her mother. Again, we've gone over this, but Xion doesn't know the details, so this information enrages her. She berates Su for doing this, as it's clear by the data that the test subjects are suffering subconsciously, but Su rationalizes his way into justifying it.
Nonsense. That's just an issue with the numbers. You merely see what you want to see. She doesn't feel anything. She doesn't say anything. This is nothing more than peripheral nerve reflexes.
After Su tells Xion to know her place as a staff member, little Xion arrives in the room. Su tells her to leave, and Xion volunteers to escort little Xion out of the premises. After apologizing to Su for her conduct, she leads little Xion out. Outside the room, little Xion says that she wants to get some flowers for
A soldier!
Just like before, little Xion picks out flowers from the flowers she's growing. Before heading to the church, Kevin shows up and ridicules Xion for playing babysitter. We get more of Kevin's worldview as he says that war is a natural part of being a human and resisting war is unnatural. Hearing him seems to disappoint Xion, as this is definitely not the Kevin she thought she knew. Xion, Alan, and little Xion make their way into the church, and there, the scene of little Xion giving Virgil the flower plays out, following the conversation about Realians having real emotions between Fabrona and Virgil, and the scene with little Xion and Fabrona praying. After more scenes that we've already gone over in past videos, we see Xion has returned to the Elsa with KOS-MOS' data. The professor and his assistant pretty much tell them that they'll do what they can.
What we can. After all, I don't get many chances to play around with this baby.
Just a side note, after playing a game, Ziggy asks Xion if she feels better, and Junior tells her that they're her friends and that she's welcome to tell them when anything is wrong with her. Just keep that in mind for later. Chapter 51. She's coming back. We see the professor, his assistant, Scott, and Alan working on KOS-MOS. They try to activate her, but it doesn't seem to work. Both the professor and Scott agree that what they're missing is
love and courage.
Yeah, love and courage. No, I'm pretty sure the problem lies with you two.
Anyways, for this, they ask Alan to fetch Xion. As they get back to work, we see the Black Testament appear behind them. Over with Xion, we hear as she thinks to herself in the shower. She's contemplating what is about to happen, the Milton conflict, whether she should try to stop it or at the very least save her parents. She wonders if KOS-MOS would chastise her for being illogical.
Would you chastise me for being illogical? Just like you always do? KOS-MOS, would you abandon countless lives before you? Simply because it's the logical thing to do?
Yes, Xion, I think she would. Alan rings in from outside her room and struggles to get his words out as Xion answers with a camera from the shower. What kind of shower has a video call feature? Why? Anyways, he tells Xion that the professor wants her opinion on KOS-MOS, and as she responds, they hear an explosion. Alan quickly goes in the room to see if Xion is alright, but come on, Alan. We all know what was up. They both head to KOS-MOS' maintenance room where the explosion came from. In the maintenance bay, the professor and Scott are blown out of the room by an explosion. Then we see the Black Testament carrying out KOS-MOS' maintenance bay with KOS-MOS inside it. Junior, Chaos, Hammer, Tony, and Matthew all enter the room, and as Chaos and Scott help the professor up, everyone else begins to shoot at the Black Testament, Voyager. But of course, it does absolutely nothing to him. While everyone slowly backs out, Jen and Ziggy walk into the room. Ziggy tells Junior to move and assures him that this won't be a repeat of last time, as he is completely calm this time. Look at Tony shooting like a gangster. Anyways, Ziggy confronts Voyager and asks him why he's here and what his objective is, but the only response he gets is an attack, which Jin deflects, giving Ziggy an opportunity to jump at him. But he's easily deflected by a force field. Okay, I just want to put a quick note here. Ziggy's a freaking badass, okay? But every single moment he has gotten his chance to be a badass, it's against Voyager, a Testament. And that's just not fair. Testaments are not just enhanced humans or some shit. They're dead. They're pretty much souls. They don't obey the laws of physics that we know. They're imaginary number domain beings. Time doesn't mean shit to them. Space doesn't mean shit to them. Okay? Okay. I just had to stand up for my boy Ziggy, because after his fights with Margulis, he never gets a good moment to shine. Okay, back to the story. Finally, Xion, Alan, and Momo show up. As Xion notices that Voyager is taking KOS-MOS away, she instinctively charges at him. But of course, nothing. Voyager holds Xion in the air and with his power, and suddenly...
The Hilbert effect?
Nothing like a Xion in mortal danger to wake KOS-MOS up. KOS-MOS jumps out of her pod and immediately engages in battle against Voyager. Now in her most powerful V4 form, or V5 if you count the one from my missing ear. I know she didn't really do anything to him, but again, testament. The fact that she even put up a fight is a big deal, and if you don't understand that, you don't understand what not obeying the laws of physics entails. Anyways, after Junior comments on how powerful KOS-MOS is now, KOS-MOS tells Xion that she will need help with Voyager, and so a boss fight begins. You beat him, but of course, he pulls the old beat in the game but not in the cutscene trick. After the fight, Ziggy begins questioning Voyager about why he's doing what he's doing, and he shoots a cannon at him. Again, Voyager stays quiet. Ziggy even uses his real name.
Answer me! Eric!
As if trying to reach the real him. Seems pretty pointless considering what happened in Pied Piper. Unless he was just distracting him.
Now, do you think that you really won this?
This is checkmate.
KOS-MOS sneaks up behind him, uses the Hilbert effect, and stabs him through the back. But, it does nothing. Man, I wish all of this would have happened with a killable enemy because these scenes are so badass. But the unkillable nature of Voyager kind of diminishes the moments. Anyways, after all of this, the Red Testament communicates with Voyager and orders him back if he's already done with his task, instead of toying with them. It seems Voyager's only mission, much like in Xenosaga 2, was to awaken KOS-MOS. Mission accomplished again.
Farewell for now. Goodbye, young sour.
Xion runs over to KOS-MOS, overjoyed at seeing her awake. KOS-MOS apologizes for causing her
undue emotional stress while my functions were suspended. I must apologize.
She sure has a way with words. As Xion begins to tell her that she's happy to see her, she begins to get drowsy and then faints. While Xion is passed out, she talks to, not Udo, but Joachim Mizrahi? It seems that she's talking with the actual Joachim Mizrahi, like she's talking to his consciousness? Not his past version or a dream. Why? Why him out of all people? And how is she communicating with someone's consciousness? Okay, well, it doesn't matter. He says some deep stuff, and then behind him they see a woman that Xion seems to mistake for KOS-MOS, although it can't be because she's a human and she's dark-skinned. Like Telos. No, this is actually Mary. But before she can learn anything else, she wakes up. Xion tells Jin that she talked to their father, but he seems uninterested in what they talked about. Then Alan walks in with some food for Xion, and when noticing that she's awake and talking to Jin, he hides. Alan, why? Xion continues to tell Jin what she learned about the Vessels of Anima, including that they're needed to activate the Zohar. She tells him her idea of stopping the whole Milton conflict by stopping their experiments. Not just that, but using the energy of the Vessels of Anima, the professor might be able to find a way to return to their own timeline. Jin tells her that the risk of changing the past is too great, but Xion is determined, as this is not a past that she wants. After discussing her plan with the professor, he says that it could be possible to use the Vessels of Anima energy. Junior reminds them that the Milton conflict will start in a few days, so they have to hurry. A reminder which worries Momo. Chapter 52. Investigating the Past. Xion and the rest make their way back into the acute neurosis treatment facility, this time without disguises. On the way there, they see Mizrahi talking to Sellers in a scene I've gone over, where he shows his disinterest for U-TIC's main objective. As they walk in separate ways, Momo chases after Joachim Mizrahi, as this is the only chance she will ever get to ever talk to her dad. Momo and Joachim have a little bonding time. This is where he reveals how he came up with the idea of making Momo and how consciousnesses are born and return to the UMN. This is also when we see that he has decided to betray U-TIC. During this whole conversation, he doesn't seem to realize that he's talking to the very reality he's talking about creating, which is weird to me. How does he not realize that the reality he's making, which is pretty much complete already, is standing right in front of him? Another theory could be that he does know that he's talking to Momo, and that's why he tells her so much information, but that still brings to question how he acts so nonchalant about his creation time traveling to the past. But I don't know. It could be either theory, although they both have flaws. His white data does contain a lot of crazy information, so maybe time travel is just par for the course for him. After this, he leaves the room. When the rest of the group go inside to get Momo, she seems really happy to find out that her father really wasn't a monster and that he cared about her as much as he did about Sakura. After this, the group continued to the underground facility where the Vessels of Anima are. On the way there, they see Kevin and Sue leaving Kevin's personal room. Shion and the rest go inside his office, and there they see another list of test subjects, and they're shocked to find not just Shion's mom's name, but Shion's name in the list. Shion asks Jin if he knows anything about this, but he doesn't say anything. She berates Jin as she believes that he knew what they were doing to their mother, and both her and her father let it happen. Before Jin can explain himself, Scott opens a window which shows a room with the 27 series Asura combat unit Realians that U-TIC used in the Melchian conflict. The same ones that killed Shion's mother. This means that Kevin had a hand in getting Shion's mom and dad killed. At this realization, Shion tries to run out of the room, but Jin stops her and calms her down. Then they continue on with their mission. On the way there's a lot of expository pit stops in this mission. They find the room that Proto Omega is housed in, the room with the Zohar link system containing Cecily and Kath. But this time they're walking above it on some pipes. There they see Kevin, Sue, and Margulis talking, a conversation which I've already gone over before in past videos. Seeing her father involved with the Zohar link system and Margulis, Shion becomes ever more disappointed in her father. Finally, they arrive at the underground facility containing the Vessels of Anima. The professor opens the containers and inside they see not only Vessels of Anima, but also ESs, but it seems that Asher is missing its vessel.
There are 11 cages containing Vessels of Anima. Simeon, Dinah, Zebulun, Reuben, Levi, Issachar, Gad, Joseph, Dan, Naphtali, and finally, Judah. Of those, there are 3 capable of being operated as ES craft. And as you can see, Asher's cage is empty.
This makes Shion realize just how ingrained with Ormus Vector is, as the ESs were said to have been developed at Vector, not Labyrinthos. After they transfer their ESs from the Elsa to this hangar and insert their respective Vessels of Anima, Junior asks the professor what they're going to do about Asher. They've decided that since it doesn't have a Vessel of Anima, they're going to use their reactor from a powerful robot that the professor has dedicated his life to creating, Erde Kaiser. No, they didn't just pull this out of their ass for plot convenience. Erde Kaiser has actually been an ongoing thing from Xenosaga 1. It's just not relevant to the main plot, just side missions. That's why I never mentioned them. Anyways, Judas has doubts, but the professor proves him wrong. Then an alarm sounds. It seems the professor and Scott were using U-TIC's mainframe to get the ESs working, so they were fully aware that they would eventually get found out, but decided not to tell anyone. With that, everyone quickly gets into their ES and begins to leave. On their way out of Labyrinthos, their ESs freeze up again as their Vessels of Anima begins to synchronize with their consciousness. If this happens enough, the vessels will fully awaken, something that seems to worry Chaos as he wonders what Wilhelm is up to. The U-TIC soldier informs Pellegrini of the situation, and Pellegrini orders them to deploy the Interstellar Strategic Integrated Weapon System. Whew, rolls right off the tongue. Despite the risks, as it's still in testing phases, they deploy the weapon. As the group go up a ramp leading out of Labyrinthos, Dinah picks up an enemy transmission, and they listen in on them.
Zohar, test subject. Provide security. There's no time. No, postpone the connection experiment. Number 6. Aoi Uzuki is being prepped in hospital ward.
Aoi? Uzuki?
Transport the test subject.
Mother!
Hearing that her mom is being transferred, Shion exits the ES craft and heads off by herself to save her mother. The rest of the group try to turn back to get her, but they are attacked by the long name weapon, or as the game calls it, Omega Universitas. After defeating it, the weapon is still functional and seems to be transformed into another form. And it is, but halfway through it stops, and then it retreats. You will never see this weapon again. It does have another form you can fight, but it's side mission stuff, not main mission stuff, and it's called Omega Id. Anyways, KOS-MOS locates Shion but they are attacked by a bunch of smaller enemies' aims, forcing them to retreat without Xion. Meanwhile, Xion heads back to the acute neurosis treatment facility to save her mother, evading U-TIC soldiers along the way. Right as she's about to open a door to the wing where her mother's room is, she hears a voice call her. It's the Red Testament, Ross Mantell. As he approaches her, he asks if she has forgotten him. Then he takes off his mask, and much to Xion's surprise, the man standing in front of her is Kevin. This means that Ross Mantell is actually Kevin in disguise, which would explain how Telos managed to be so similar and even better than KOS-MOS, as Kevin designed KOS-MOS. The shock of not only seeing Kevin but seeing him behind a Testament mask distracts her enough to get ambushed by U-TIC soldiers. As the soldiers try to take her down alive, Xion cries out to Kevin to help.
Help me, Kevin!
What's she talking about?
Don't touch me!
Someone
Get
shut her
away
up!
from me!